Most people don't wake up one morning owing the IRS $100,000. That's usually not how it happens. What actually happens is much slower and much more predictable, because it usually starts with a simple notice. One notice, then another, then another, then another. And every time those notices come, the person tells themselves, I'm going to deal with that later. I don't have time for that right now. Especially right now, because I can't afford to pay anyways. Oh, I'm going to worry about that next month. And honestly, I understand why people do that. Because the IRS letters aren't exactly what people want to read when they drink their morning coffee. But here's the problem. Ignoring the IRS notices doesn't stop the process. The IRS keeps moving ahead like a train, whether you respond or not. And that's the part that a lot of people miss. See, the IRS has a process. And that process keeps going even when the envelope stays unopened. So let's just say you have unfiled returns, or maybe you owe some money. The notices begin. The IRS starts asking questions, requesting returns, requesting payment, requesting a response from you, but nothing crazy yet, just notices. And then people start telling themselves one of the most expensive lies the tax world hears. If it was important, they'd send another letter. Good news, they do. Bad news. And eventually the tone changes. It gets me more pressing. And the IRS becomes less interested in asking and more interested in collecting tax, penalties, and interest. This is where things start getting real, because now we're getting into final notice territory, collection territory, levy territory. And I can't tell you how many people call me right about this time. Just when that final notice arrives, then the second notice arrives, then the third notice arrives, right there, when suddenly it begins to feel real. Now, let's talk about what happens while all of this is going on, because the IRS isn't just sitting there waiting on their hands. Penalties continue, interest continues, time continues, your debt continues to grow. The meter keeps running. Nobody ever calls me saying, Josh, I was hoping my penalty would grow. No, that has literally never happened. Instead, they call me, how come this got so big? Usually because it sat there for years, growing quietly, the same way a small crack turns into a foundation problem. Balance keeps growing, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Then one day, they log into their IRS account and they open a notice. They see a number that they don't really like. Makes their stomach drop a lot of the times. $100,000. Sometimes more. And here's what's interesting. A lot of those people don't even know how it even got there, because they never followed the progression. Notice, notice, notice. Are you starting to notice a pattern? Collection, penalties, interest, more notices, failure notices, final notices, more interest. So it didn't happen overnight. Don't try and fool yourself. It happened one ignored envelope at a time. One thing I tell clients all the time is this. The IRS doesn't usually create emergencies. People create emergencies by waiting too long to deal with manageable problems. So this is not meant to be harsh. It's just reality. A CP-59 is manageable. Unfiled returns are manageable. Tax debt is manageable. But when things get around for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, the situation changes. So that's why I really don't want you focusing on the amount that you owe. Not yet. I want you to start focusing on where you are at in the whole process. Because if you're still in the notice stage, that is good news. You still have lots of options. You still have time. You still have leverage. You don't want to discover the problem when collections is already underway. Now, maybe you're watching this and you have a stack of IRS letters sitting next to you on the kitchen counter, or in the drawer, or in a box, or in your dresser that you haven't opened for years. I want to say this plainly. You are not alone. See it all the time. But at some point, you need to figure out what's actually going on. What years are missing? What balances are actually accurate? What balances aren't? and what notices have been issued, and what options really still exist. Because once you understand the situation, you can start solving it. And if you don't understand the situation, you're just going to keep guessing. See, the IRS collection process is not random. It's very predictable. The sooner you get clarity, the more options you have. So if you've been ignoring IRS notices, and if you're worried about unfiled returns, or if your balance keeps growing every year, don't wait until the next notice arrives. Find out where you stand. Find out when it can still be fixed. And if you need help doing that, that is exactly what we do at Best Tax Pro.